My husband's laughter still rings in my ears. "Let's see how she gets back," Gabriel had jeered, his friends chuckling like it was the punchline to some cruel joke. The rental car's taillights blurred into the dusk, vanishing around the narrow bend of that Italian street, leaving me standing in a cloud of dust, disbelief, and humiliation. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My argument with Gabriel, what even was it about? Too much wine at lunch? My begging him to slow down was instantly rendered meaningless. Because now I wasn't a wife in a fight. I was a woman abandoned. "He's coming back," I whispered, but even to myself it sounded like a lie. Locals sitting at cafe tables glanced at me with curiosity, pity even, as if they could already see the truth I refused to name. The minutes dragged into an hour, the golden sky melting into night, and still nothing. Before we go further, I want to pause and thank you. If you're here, it means you understand the weight of betrayal, the strength it takes to rise when someone you trust pushes you down. If stories of resilience speak to you, consider subscribing. It's free, but it keeps these voices alive. Now, let me take you into the night where everything I thought I knew about my marriage began to crumble. Gabriel's friends had fueled him earlier, clapping his back when I suggested we leave the lunch table. "She's always controlling you," Pete had sneered, pouring more drinks. I had left, hoping he'd follow. He did, slurring, angry, yet disturbingly sharp. His words were knives, precise, deliberate. "Your passport's in your purse, right? You'll figure it out. You're smart." Always telling me what to do. Then the car door slammed, and he was gone. I stumbled through the streets until I found a cheap pension above a bakery. €80, a sink in the corner, a bed as narrow as my options. I called Gabriel 27 times, straight to voicemail. I texted, pleaded, even tried his friends, blocked, all of them. That's when the truth hit. This wasn't a drunken impulse. It was planned. A performance of cruelty. Sleep came in fractured pieces, each one torn open by panic. By morning, I still believed he'd come back, maybe spinning it into a twisted joke, maybe making me the villain for overreacting. But the second day came, then the third, and with each one, my hope decayed. The police station offered nothing but a nod and a filed report. The pawn shop, however, gave me something real. My wedding ring, the diamond Gabriel upgraded when I still believed anniversaries meant something, slid off my trembling finger. The man behind the counter offered less than half its worth, but enough for me to move, to choose family. That's what the pawnbroker suggested. Call home, let them rescue me. The family meant explanations. It meant hearing, "We warned you." It meant returning to Boston, to the carefully curated life where I'd shrunk myself to fit inside Gabriel's world. I couldn't, not yet. At the bus station, destination scrolled across the glowing board. Rome, Florence, places I'd dreamed of. My finger hovered over my father's name and my contacts. One call and I'd be saved. One call and I'd be trapped again. Instead, when the ticket agent asked, "Where you go?" the word escaped me like a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Greece. 14 hours later, stiff and hollow with hunger, I arrived in a village whose name I couldn't pronounce. My phone was dead, my money nearly gone. Yet something flickered inside me, tiny, dangerous, liberating. Gabriel had meant to break me. Instead, he had unshackled me. But freedom came at a cost. My feet blistered as I stumbled along olive groves, the sun burning mercilessly. My water was gone. My vision blurred. And when my knees buckled, I thought, maybe this is how it ends. Abandoned in one country, collapsing in another, a voice cut through the haze, gentle, urgent. Hands lifted me. A woman's face swam into focus, her eyes lined with years but bright with kindness. "Elena," she said, pressing water to my lips. I whispered back, Alexis. She and her husband took me in. Their farmhouse smelled of herbs and bread, of life lived slowly and fully. They fed me, clothed me, gave me a bed under a handmade quilt. I should have felt shame for needing strangers to do what my own husband would not. But instead, for the first time in years, I felt seen. And as the sun rose over the Aegean, I realized I hadn't just survived abandonment. I had been reborn through it. I thought gratitude would be enough. One evening, with my phone finally charged thanks to an adapter Nikos produced from some forgotten drawer, I tried to explain through broken English, through the halting voice of a translation app, that I should leave, that I needed to repay them, to move on. But when Elena understood, her face fell like a storm passing over the sun. She shook her head firmly, pointing to the rain streaking the windows, then down to my blistered feet. Stay, she said, one of the few English words she knew. Rest. For 3 days I tried again and again to go. Each attempt was met with her quiet resistance, never forceful, always wounding. Once, purse in hand, shoes laced tight, she intercepted me at the door. The look in her eyes pleading, fragile, stopped me more than her hand on my arm. She led me to the mantel, pulled down a wooden box, and opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, photographs. Her eyes and Nico's smile stared back from a younger face. Sophia, she whispered, then pointed far away. Australia. She mind holding a baby, then showed me another photo, a tiny child with Sophia's eyes. No, see, grandbaby. The ache in her voice told me everything words could not. I wasn't being manipulated. I was filling a hollow space in their home. My heart cracked open, not in resistance, but in recognition of her loss. Quietly, I set my purse back on the hook. Days turned into rhythm. Elena showed me how to collect eggs without frightening the hens, how to pin laundry so the mountain breeze caught it just right. Nikos taught me to distinguish weeds from herbs in the garden, chuckling when I uprooted a sprig of thyme by mistake. My body rebelled at first, soft hands blistering, city muscles straining, but with each evening ache came a strange satisfaction. Slowly, the endless loop of panic and betrayal that haunted my mind began to soften. The land, the animals, the simple work forced me to be present. Evenings were the quietest, the most healing. Elena knitting, Nico smoking his pipe, the olive trees whispering in the breeze. For the first time since Gabriel's car disappeared around that Italian bend, I wasn't counting the hours. I was simply here. 2 weeks later, as we shelled, peas side by side, Elena studied me carefully. Then, haltingly, in her growing English, she asked, Home? You won't go home? She mimed a plane rising into the sky, pointed westward, the word cut like glass. Home, Boston. The brownstone with its curated decor. The husband who had made me smaller, year by year, until I barely recognized myself. Memories of surrender. My career dismissed as a hobby, my friendships slowly starved, my finances conveniently managed until I had nothing of my own. Tears streamed before I could stop them. I told Elena everything in a rush of words she couldn't fully understand, but she didn't need to. Her weathered hand covered mine, her eyes steady. She pointed to her chest, to the farm, then back. To me, the message was simple, clear. You have a place here. I looked at her, then at Nikos among the olive trees. Work, I said, mimicking his movements. I stay, I work. Elena's face bloomed into a smile so radiant it felt like sunrise itself. The very next morning, she woke me before dawn, pressing into my hand Sophia's old work clothes and boots. Together, we walked to the groves. The air was cool, the sky still ink black as she demonstrated rake, comb, release. Olives tumbled into the nets below. My first clumsy attempt shook down more twigs than fruit. Nikos corrected me patiently, his quiet pride evident when I managed a proper sweep. By mid-morning, the sun scorched, my shoulders burned and fresh. Blisters flared on my palms. Elena teased softly, Boston lady hands. That night, she rubbed an herbal salve into my skin, promising, tomorrow better. She was right. Every day, I grew stronger. Every week, I grew steadier. Soon, I was working beside them without complaint, my pride swelling with each basket of fruit. Sorting was harder than harvesting, separating the flawless olives for oil, the blemished for soap, the damaged for discard. At first, Elena corrected every handful, but little by little, her corrections faded. One evening, Nikos glanced at me, nodded, and said in halting English, "You learn fast." It was the highest compliment I could imagine. My lesson stretched into Elena's kitchen, where recipes lived not in books, but in hands. She kneaded bread without measuring, stirring by instinct. "Watch," she would say, guiding me. My first loaves emerged lopsided, pale, or burnt. "Learning is not waste," she reminded me, breaking bread with me anyway. Each mistake, a step forward. Each small success, a revolution. In Boston, perfection had been a cage. Here, imperfection was freedom. Months passed. My body transformed, leaner, stronger, my skin glowing not from creams, but from labor and sunlight. The mirror reflected someone unfamiliar, a woman who looked capable, substantial, alive. My vocabulary expanded, my confidence. With it, Elena shared old photo albums. I showed her my design work on my phone. She tapped her temple and said, "Beautiful thinking, simple words, yet they undid me." Gabriel had stolen that acknowledgement. Elena gave it back. I knitted my first scarf with clumsy hands, molded clay into a mug with Nikos, wove a basket with a neighbor. Each object imperfect, yet filled with story, connection, and pride. One morning, after 3 months, Elena and Nikos took me to their small press, where golden oil flowed from our harvest. "Market," Elena said, pointing at the calendar. The village square buzzed with life farmers, artisans, tourists drifting between stalls. Elena and Nikos set out their bottles, soaps, preserves. To my surprise, they pushed me forward, to face the crowd. My Greek was broken, my English useless here, but laughter bridged the gaps. And as we packed away the last bottles that evening, Elena handed me an envelope of euros. "Your part," she said simply. "Fair. For the first time in years, I held money that was mine. Earned not through Gabriel's world, but through my own." Hands. I stared down at the envelope. The modest sum inside, no more than the cost of a single meal at the kind of restaurants Gabriel once paraded me through. Yet this wasn't just money. It was proof, tangible proof, that for the first time in years, I had earned something that belonged entirely to me. No strings, no surveillance, no expectation of gratitude. Just the quiet dignity of fair pay for honest work. That night, I slid the envelope beneath my pillow, fingers brushing it again and again as though it might dissolve if I let go. In our decade together, Gabriel had slowly tightened his grip on every account, every transaction, until the only freedom I had came from the credit cards. He allowed me to use cards linked to accounts he monitored. This thin stack of euros wasn't much, but to me it was a lifeline. A beginning. For the first time, I realized an entire day had passed without Gabriel creeping into my thoughts. The market had claimed my attention, the Greek phrases I struggled to perfect, the pride that swelled as our olive oil bottles left my hands. He was shrinking in my mind like a shadow at noon. In his place grew something I had almost forgotten. Belief in myself. The following week, Elena and Nikos invited me to dinner at the taverna on Village Square. I borrowed a blouse from Elena, nervous as we entered the lively space. The owner, Stavis, greeted them with booming warmth before his eyes landed on me. "Our American," Elena announced proudly. His grin widened as he ushered us to their table. Over wine and grilled fish. Nikos cleared his throat, leaning forward. "Alexis, we won't talk business with you." My heart stumbled. Had I overstepped? Was it time for me to leave? Elena's hand covered mine, steady and kind. "We are old now, no children." "Sophia not coming back?" She gestured to the room, as if to remind me this was their whole world. But the trees? "They need young hands." Nikos's eyes softened. "You learn fast. Work hard, we teach, in time business yours." The words struck me harder than any blow Gabriel had ever delivered with his silence. They were offering me a future, not charity, not pity. A true inheritance of trust. I protested that I didn't know enough. Nikos cut me off with simple certainty. "You learn." And so began my apprenticeship. At dawn, Nikos led me through the groves, teaching how soil changed the oil, how to spot disease before it spread, when to harvest for the richest flavor. Elena guided me through the books, ancient ledgers alongside clumsy spreadsheets their grandson had set up years before. Her methods worked, but I saw ways to improve. At night, I digitized records, built charts that revealed patterns in sales, updated labels to tell the story of our oil, of tradition and taste. Tourists asked fewer questions because I anticipated them. Locals lingered longer because they sensed the care. Even Stavis became our partner, placing our premium bottles at his tables with a wink. "Good for me, good for you." The community began to draw me in. A pharmacist who supplied Elena's medicine stopped for long conversations. The baker's wife invited me to join her circle of women, terrifying at first, but invaluable. I found myself at baptisms, festivals, committee meetings. Each event stitched me deeper into the village fabric until the web of belonging held me fast. And then there was Yana, the weaver whose stall stood beside ours at the market. Sharp-witted, pragmatic, a widow too young, she reminded me of who I'd once been. One afternoon, as we packed our baskets, she asked, "You never speak of America? No family there? No friends?" Her words cut deep. I confessed, parents gone, friendships left to wither. Gabriel had slowly convinced me I needed no one but him. "His name?" She pressed. It took effort to say it aloud. "Gabriel." The syllables felt strange, as though I was naming someone long buried. Yana studied me, unflinching. "Perhaps. Time to look. Not for him, for you. To close the door." That night, I opened the old phone, hands trembling. Hundreds of messages waited. Friends' notes that shifted from casual to worried. A mentor offering me work, one final email saying the position was still open. A bridge to a past self I thought destroyed, but then his name. Gabriel Davis. Subject line, "I know where you are." The words blurred as my heart thudded in my ears. I clicked out Alexis. "It's taken months, but I found you. This ends now. I'm coming to bring you home. My flight lands Thursday. Be ready. 3 days. The room spun. Rage tangled with panic. After everything, after silence, after abandonment, he thought he could simply reclaim me like a forgotten possession. I stumbled downstairs, phone clutched like a weapon. Elena looked up from her ledger, her smile fading at the sight of me. "Bad news from America?" My voice cracked. "Gabriel. He's coming Thursday." Elena's eyes narrowed, calm but sharp. She slid an envelope across the table. Good timing. Was waiting for right moment. Inside lay papers, my name alongside theirs. A partnership agreement. 1/3 of the business, legally mine. Tears blurred my vision as I stared down at the papers. They were just contracts, not just the promise of work or a place to sleep. They were proof that I belonged, not charity, not pity, but partnership, recognition, a future that I had built, earned, and chosen for myself. You decide what happens on Thursday, Elena said, her voice steady, tapping the papers as if to ground me in reality. You have a home here, a business, friends. She pointed to the phone in my hand. That man no longer decides your life. Her words settled over me like armor. For the first time since that night in Italy when Gabriel left me stranded and broken, I felt anchored. Not a fugitive, not abandoned. Anchored. Gabriel was coming. But the woman he'd find wasn't the one he left behind. The days that followed blurred. Together, not with frantic packing or rehearsed apologies, but with quiet preparation of a different kind. Emotional fortification, silent resolve. I visited Katerina, the village's only lawyer, who helped me draft divorce papers in Greek and English. I answered my old mentor's offer, agreeing to consult remotely. I even reached out to friends I'd cut off long ago, explaining just enough to close wounds that had festered, and then Thursday arrived. A perfect Greek summer sky stretched, above cloudless, almost mocking. I was in the processing shed with Nikos, testing olive oil samples, when I heard the growl of an unfamiliar engine. The sound cut through the quiet like a blade. Elena appeared in the doorway, her face steady, but her eyes betraying unease. He's here. My heart hammered, but my hands didn't tremble. I wiped them on my work apron and stepped into the sunlight. Gabriel leaned against a sleek silver sedan, designer sunglasses shading his eyes. His outfit was carefully casual, but I recognized it traveling clothes that cost more than a week's profit from the farm. He surveyed the old farmhouse with thinly veiled disdain. For a moment, he didn't see me. And in that moment, I saw him clearly, diminished, smaller against the timeless. Olive trees and weathered stone, his perfection looked fragile, absurd. Gabriel, I called. My voice, to my surprise, was calm. He turned. The shock on his face was almost comical. His eyes moved from my worn boots to my sun-browned skin, lingering on my hair, pulled back without effort. I watched recognition twist into disbelief. God, Alexis, what happened to you? His voice dripped with the familiar disapproval that once pierced me. Now it rolled off like water against rock. Life happened, I said, each word steady. What are you doing here? He removed his glasses, pasting on his old charm as if it could erase months of silence. I've come to take you home, of course. This has gone on long enough, don't you think? I stopped well short of his reach. This isn't about making a point, Gabriel. This is about making a life. Behind me, Elena and Nico stepped into the yard, silent sentinels. They didn't need to know the words. Their presence was enough. Gabriel's eyes narrowed. Are these the people keeping you here? They've been teaching me, I cut in. About work, about community, about kindness without conditions. I gestured toward the olive groves. I'm part owner now. This is my business. He laughed, sharp and condescending. A business? Alexis, be serious. You're not a farmer, you're a designer. This is some phase, some eat, pray, love fantasy. Yes, I left you in Italy. I was drunk. I made a mistake. But I'm here now. I've apologized. It's time to come home. You apologized? My voice broke, not with weakness, but with incredulity. When? In what world does tracking me down and ordering me back count as an apology? His charm cracked, revealing impatience. Fine, I'm sorry I left you. It was wrong. There, can we move past this? Why now, Gabriel? Why after all these months? He hesitated, shifting under the weight of Elena and Nikos' gaze. Your parents, our clients, people are starting to ask questions. It looks bad for your image, I finished. Our reputation, he snapped. No, I said, my voice like steel. The reputation you built, on my silence, on my compliance. Did you even notice how unhappy I was? Did you care? His jaw tightened. We had a good life, a beautiful home, financial security. What more could you want? Purpose, connection, control over my own choices. I gestured to the modest farmhouse. I found them here, things you never gave me. That's not you, he insisted, desperation rising. The Alexis I know would never choose. This, you're right, I said softly. That woman doesn't exist anymore. She died in Italy the night her husband abandoned her. Elena stepped forward, pressing the partnership contract into my palm. I held it out to Gabriel. I belong here now. I have work responsibilities. A future. His face reddened. This is absurd. It's real, I said, pulling the second envelope from my pocket. Divorce papers. And so is this. He froze, staring at the envelope as if it burned. You'd throw away everything? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing something better. I pressed the papers into his hand. You left me laughing, Gabriel. You just never imagined I'd learn to live without you? His bravado faltered, pride collapsing inward. You'll regret this, he muttered. But even he didn't believe it. Maybe, I conceded, but at least the choice will be mine. Nikos placed a steady hand on my shoulder, speaking too. Gabriel in Greek. What did he say? Gabriel asked, his voice small. That the road to Athens is dangerous after dark, I translated. You should go. And just like that, the fight drained from him. He turned, silent, and slid into the car. Dust rose behind him as he disappeared down the dirt road. Elena's hand found mine. Together, we turned back to the farmhouse, my farmhouse now. Work awaited, dinner, tomorrow's market. Life. Gabriel thought he'd broken me when he left me alone in that foreign country, but he was wrong. He hadn't destroyed me. He had freed me,